such an incredibly just fascinating and wonderfully weird and awesome movie. And I remember when we were the programming team, when we were watching it, I was kind of waiting to get on a Zoom with everyone to discuss it instead of texting or slacking right away to be like, And so we all got on a Zoom and we all kind of were just the movie came up on the list that we were discussing, and we were like, okay, so what did you guys think of it? What did you guys think of it? And all of us were just like, oh my god, we just didn't even know how to describe how we were feeling, and I think that's what's so cool about it. And so I think the first question for me to you is one, obviously, how did you come on to work with Anu? Because I know Anu Valia, the Incredible, who put a little message together for you guys right before the movie started. How did you guys come together with this script that she wrote? And I really want to dive into tone with you.
Sure. Well, Anu and I met originally. I was running scripted at a documentary company, a TV company, so I was developing scripted TV shows, and we were connected actually by the woman who now runs development at FX, the TV channel, just saying, this woman is a genius, she lives in New York, you have to sit down with her. And knowing that I work with people who think outside, only with people who think outside the box, that do things differently, that have this passionate core, that want to get the message out. So, we fell in creative love. We developed a TV show for a little bit. I had to walk away from that job. And when I became a solo producer, she brought me We Strangers. And that was around 7 years ago.
Wow.
And so we then sort of tinkered with the script for a really long time. The tone of the script changed. So when I first met Anu, she was in her mid to late 20s. Mm-hmm. And she's now mid to late 30s. And so her perspective on life, as well as film and cinema, as well as directing, it just evolved over time. The story was always very clear. It was something to show the experience that she had growing up in Gary, Indiana, a daughter of Indian immigrants, not having anyone to blend in with. So constantly being in these spaces that she didn't belong and learning how to navigate. And so the story was always going to be the story of a cleaning lady going into these people's houses across town, but it was always going to be about what assimilation can take from you, not how to do it, because I think we all assimilated in our own times. But so the tone, Anu comes from, I'm just rambling on now, stop me.
No, please, keep going.
The tone, Anu comes from comedy, much like I do. From the world of comedy, and and then when she goes into drama, she brings this unique, quirky tone of comedy to it. It's not as simple as, it's a dark comedy, add some jokes to make it more relevant. It's truly, truly her own unique tone that she's created, I think, that is able to sort of make it, sort of disarm the person watching in order to have them think differently and objectively about what they're looking at. It's also obviously to show warmth to certain characters, coolness to other characters, but I think the tone is all her own, and that's what makes me so proud of this film as well.
No, it's truly one of a kind. I mean, she really is. You just kind of watch something that's Anu's, and it's Anu's. Even when she's quite a prolific television director as well, and even in that, you kind of know oh, Anu's directing that. You know what I mean?
She's the kind of person who you bring her onto something and it will look so stunning by the end. I remember the first time I worked with her, I hired her to direct a short for me, and it was such an amazing experience. And what she does is she creates this unique value to something that really, we can't afford to make expensive things at this point in time. So she really just shines and shines and shines this object and then shows it to you when it's fully formed, and it's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. And I think another thing that really, immediately, just throws you, just fully immerses you into the world of We Strangers is the music. Yeah. I mean, the music, some of those music cues are just, first of all, they're bops. That's one. But it's also organic. You don't feel like it's a needle drop, right? So I'm curious about how the music kind of conversation went, and finding tracks is extremely difficult. As a producer, I know you know this, like, so I'm just curious about how the music process was like, because it does set the tone and the atmosphere of the world so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It really sort of is part of the storytelling for this film. So we had the most amazing team. We had Jay Wadley, the composer, who's we were so lucky to get. We were so lucky to get everyone. Patrick Burgess was sound designer. Kat Mapp was our music supervisor.
Amazing.
And between the three of them, in quite a short period of time, what they managed to pull off is just astounding to me. The process of the film was very creative from beginning to end. So, we were redrafting constantly. She was making choices on set, and then obviously in the edit, it was discovering as well as making. And so by the time we got to music, it really was night and day after that process. And so we waited until we had a fine cut before even starting to talk about music. And so then it became this beautiful process of sort of bringing out what you want to from the film. The Kat Mapp, the music supervisor, did wonders. There were certain tunes we used in the film that we weren't able to use in the final cut just because of budgetary reasons. But what she was able to do, it really is better than it would have been with the original music. I truly believe that.
That's amazing. Well, you are a producer, and so I do really want to get a little bit nitty-gritty about some of the minutiae of producing, if that's all right with you. Also, because raise your hand if you're a filmmaker.
Yay!
So I do think that a lot of these incredible filmmakers, a lot of which have films at the festival this year, will really be able to benefit for us talking some of those really producerial points. If you're comfortable sharing, I'd love to hear about financing and within the budget, kind of how you were able to stretch dollars, how long were you guys shooting on set for, some of those things.
So the final budget is under $1 million net. We got a lot of soft money. We're very lucky. The Illinois tax credit is stunning, above the line, below the line. I think they might be cracking down soon, so if you want to shoot in Illinois, do it soon. It's set in Gary, Indiana, and we hired the local production company, Pegasus, who are an Indiana-based production company who want to build a film industry in Indiana. And so they have a non-profit arm. They contributed our first third of financing. And then the second third came from Flourish, which is this amazing venture capital firm that has a mission. So it's a for-profit venture capital firm, but its mission is to show poverty in the everyday. And this was the first film they had invested in, so we were really lucky. And then the last third was from Public School Pictures, which was just a small, blossoming but very small production company out of LA. Mm-hmm. And so that brought us up to $1 million, and then the rest was soft money. And, I think the way we were able to do it, we surrounded Anu with people that she had worked with and loved and collaborated with over the years. There was a shorthand from the get-go. And so that cut out so much time on set. We had Charlotte Hornsby, who's like one of the best DPs, I think, around, what she was able to do with the budget, I thought was stunning.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to give her a shout out.
No, please, yeah.
At the end of the day, it's always a battle. It's a battle against the clock. And, I think what Anu had the maturity of doing, it's her first feature, but she had the maturity of choosing the scenes that she wanted to prioritize. And, for instance, the double reading scene, the one with, that took a whole day. And that's unheard of from that size to spend a whole day. But it's just such a key turning point for the film, and she knew she needed that time, and she had it, and then. So I think it's just Anu knowing exactly what she wanted and how she wanted to play with the actors, and so we prepped accordingly.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk to you about something you just brought up, which is the kind of collaborative nature on set. Considering it is her first feature, and you and I both know Anu, obviously, but we know that she's very collaborative, but on a first feature, you kind of have to be a little bit, but I feel like it's above and beyond with someone like her. Can you talk a little bit, were you on the ground and throughout the whole run of picture, and kind of what that collaborative process was like for all the heads of department?
Yeah, no, I was on set every day. I think because of the shorthand, what happened was a lot of the creative thinking between the department's heads was done offset. So we had them living together, and so it was like a constant living, breathing conversation between these people who've known and loved each other and played with each other for a decade.
Yeah.
So you know, I think set design was really tough. We had 3 out of 4 locations were not dressed, and so we had to really, I mean, it was just purely a location shoot. I think she did an absolutely amazing job. I think lighting, I think everything to do with the camera department busted their ass in such a way that we were able to economize. What was the? I forget the question.
No, yes, you got it. It was just about like kind of how it was collaborative, etc.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great. And then I want to turn it over to the audience questions if there are any in just a second. But the last question I have for you is, I know that on this project, along with a lot of the crew members, the heads of department that have worked with Anu and with you guys in the past, a lot of the cast had as well. So can you talk a little bit about any cast kind of collaboration that was there? Did anything change because it was Kirby versus Sarah Goldberg, et cetera, in some of these parts?
Absolutely. Well, Kirby was always going to be Ray. It was one of those things, you know, it's based on Anu's life, but when she met Kirby, it became this partnership between the two of them. Kirby understood exactly what Anu's journey was and how to play this role. So it was this amazing partnership. Sarah Goldberg has done everything Anu's done, and oh my gosh, she's so unbelievable. And you know, I think we had her for a different role, and at the end of the day, she played Tracy, and of course, no one else could have played Tracy. So, and then Maria Ditzia had worked with Anu.
Yeah.
Paul Adelstein, we hadn't worked with yet, and he was such a joy.
Oh, he's a delight, right?
Oh, he was a delight. And Hari Dillon was new to the table, and he was wonderful.
Shout out.
And you know, I think the talent, once we had secured the sort of core, then the rest of them kind of fell into place. We had 2 casting directors, Erica Hart out of New York, who is unbelievable, and she was on from the very beginning. So we had been talking to her about cast for, you know, maybe 5 years before we started shooting. And then we had Lauren. Oh my gosh, Lauren. We had a local casting director out of Chicago, which I'll find the name.
Lauren Renee? No, Lauren. I know who you're talking about. I'm gonna think of it as well.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
No, and they were great. And also you guys. I said this right before the movie played. Our theme this year is Crossroads, and I can't think of a more Crossroads cast and crew and picture than this movie. And also it's like kind of the who's who of like really great working actors. Like you said, Kirby, Sarah Goldberg.
I forgot to mention Tina Lifford.
Tina Lifford.
Worship Tina Lifford. She's amazing.
Hari, Carrie Young. Like, I mean, it really is just like incredibly.
Cara was a complete fluke. We had lost a Mari, and we were looking for a new Mari, and then one of our producers, Zach, picked up the phone to Cara, and she flew out 2 days later. And it really wouldn't have been the same without her. She's so amazing.
She's so great.
We lucked out.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay.
I have a really quick question. How many days the shoot went for?
21 days.
That's awesome.
Pretty rushed.
And how long was it supposed to go?
Honestly, not that long. It was between 4 to 5 months. And you know, when you're in it, you know, when you're making something and you think it's taking forever, and then you finish and you look back and you're like, oh, well, that was only a year, the whole thing. It was kind of like that. We were constantly working. It felt like it took forever, but actually it wasn't that long.
Yeah.
What was the question on that one? That was how long was post?
How long was post?
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of jumping off on the schedule. I wanted to know a little bit about what it was like to bring all the cast and crew to Illinois, where you were shooting, and just like what the, I guess, collaboration and how things developed while you were all working together over the course of those weeks.
Yeah, so because it was a small shoot, we flew in actors for their days of work and then flew them home. So we didn't have the luxury of everyone having to live together for the full duration of shooting. Anu worked really closely with the actors before they got there. It was a lot. There were months, years in some cases, of talking about the part and the role and just constantly prepared. So by the time they got to Indiana or Illinois, they were just pumped and ready to go, which was wonderful. But you know, Ray's journey, Kirby's journey was different. So after working with Anu for so long, she flew in 2 months before we even started prep. She was living in Anu's father's house. He had moved out, and she was working for a local cleaning company, and she lived and breathed and was Ray for 2 months before we started shooting. And she's, you know, she really, really got it under that character's skin, which I think everyone was completely blown away by.
Absolutely. Anybody else? No? Oh, up top.
Fantastic film. I was curious, what was the intended purpose or the significance of the red, yellow, and green that was in practically every frame, and also the mountain and like the different nature scenes, like there was the lizard, there was the dog that was sitting in the field. Those random pieces that were in there, what were the significance behind them?
I wish Anu were here. You know, I think those colors were a motif. Those are actually colors I think now that were important. She wears them a lot. I'm not sure the decision behind the specific colors. But the mountain, the volcano it ends up being, was, you know, we've been doing this circuit and we've been asked questions about the mountains, and Anu tends to want to have people to have their own interpretations. So what she would prefer me say is, you know, you have to decide what the mountains mean. You know, to me, my personal take is that it's just you see this woman, you know, boil and erupt and find her strength and true power. And that's sort of what I always thought. But I think this is an art film and it's a piece of art. So sometimes there's something just to look at, you know? And I'm sorry that was a lame answer, but I wanted it to, she wants it to be sort of subjective, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think we have to wrap it up, but just to kind of end it, I would love to hear from you. I know that you guys premiered at South by, so how was that experience, and is there anything you can share about the future of the film for us?
We are in discussions with the distributor now. We have several offers we're talking through, and we're hoping first quarter 25.
Woo!
We get to show this to the world. You know, this is a mission-based film, and we want as many people to see it as possible. So if any of you want to share the word about the film, let me know. Oh, and quickly, as a true independent film, we are still raising donations to meet the gap that got us through to the end of post, and we now have to pay for delivery. If anyone would like to give the donation, come up to me afterwards. There's a really simple form that you fill in, and you get it back at tax season the following year. So if you feel like contributing and staying in touch with the film, come see me after.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.